For everything there is a time and a season, according to the wise man Solomon in Ecclesiastes 3:1. Well, today is a special time for us. I am excited to be a part of the launch of Life's Metamorphosis, When Life Happens by Bahama's newest author, Tina J. MacDonald. And I am so delighted when I look at this book. If anyone knows me, knows I love butterflies. Butterflies represents transformation. It goes through a cycle of metamorphosis. And that is what we're here to share about. Is life happening to you? And you want to know what is going on? This is the book for you. Help me welcome Grandpa Harvest's newest author, Mrs. Tina J. MacDonald. Welcome. It is so good to be here with you today. I celebrate you. Congratulations. I mean, what did it take for you to write this book? What was the inspiration behind this book?
Raquel, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I must say, thanks be to God. Through the leading of the Holy Spirit, this was all possible. And all credit is due to God. The journey has been great. I will share throughout our celebrations tonight all that this book entails, as well as how I got to the journey.
Well, this is wonderful. I am excited, and I hope you are. If you have not told a friend as yet, find a friend, text a friend, WhatsApp a friend, email a friend, and tell them, join us right now with Bahamas and the Bahamas' newest author, Tina J. MacDonald, as we share on this wonderful new book, Life's Metamorphosis, When Life Happens. And so before we really get into the author and the writing of this book and inspiration and her journey, we just have a few questions to ask you today. Now, I have my first giveaway. My first giveaway is for the person who first signed up. And so let me get that new. It's Lativa Nesbitt. Congratulations. You are our first winner of our giveaway for tonight. I'll be the first person to sign up to be a part of this. I would call it, this is more another launch, because this is a time of transformation, and I love the way that you're doing it, and you're doing it in a very unique way, whereby, sometimes when we have it in our closed door settings, it limits. But this kind of book, this book needs to be in the hands of everyone. This is a book that brings about the guide, and I love how it's written, a guide to overcome people memories of abuse, trauma, dysfunction, and confidently embrace change. And so many of us, we have had so many of experiences. I don't know anyone without a story, really. Everyone has a story, but what the challenge is overcoming these obstacles. And that's what this book is all about. And so I want you to stay tuned. And like I said, if you haven't done it as yet, tell a friend. Join us right here. Get the link, share the link, click on the link, like the link, subscribe to the link. whatever you need to do, you just need to be a part of this launch here tonight. And so we're excited. Now, my first question to you is, when you hear the word metamorphosis, explain it already if you were listening. What creature comes to mind? That's part A. And part B is, what are the four stages of their metamorphosis? And so we're going to wait for that person to chime in with us so we will know what winning is, because that helps us also. When you could answer that question, you have begun the journey with us to life's metamorphosis. So now tell us about this journey. Okay. I would like to say again, shout out to our moderator for this evening, Raquel Beneby-Hart, our director for RB Solutions. I'd like to send a shout out to Dr. Andy Laing, clinical consultant of the Bahama Resilience Center, as well as Javan Hunt and Tony Lowe, local artists and songwriters. Again, thank you for being here tonight. I couldn't have done this without the expertise of my amazing book publishing company, Paul Ellis of Ellis and Ellis Publishing. And I also want to thank my mentors and the advanced readers. Now, I want to thank some amazing people in my life, but I don't want to get in any problems, so please bear with me. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank my husband, my children, my parents, my siblings, my in-laws. I would like to thank my nieces, my nephews, my cousins, my friends, my late grandparents, my professional network, as well as the entire school of the Prophetic Ministry, and my staff for your love and your support, which meant the world to me. Now, with that being said, we'll move on with our celebrations. And I would like to share with you my journey to getting to life's metamorphosis when life happens. So for as long as I can remember, as a child, I often traveled with a book, a notepad, a pen, or a pencil. And I found myself, everywhere my parents took me, I would spend time sitting there writing a story, just journaling my thoughts, writing poetry and song. I would draw houses, even house floor plans, beautiful gardens with waterfalls and coconut trees. That was me growing up. And then I remember in the house I grew up in, we had this closet. I called it a mini library. It had many books, and I always visited that closet. So I would like to say again, thank you to my amazing family. So my roots for the passion that I have for writing, it delved deep into the rich soil of my family tree. Wow. And I spoke to my aunt, Cindy, a few weeks ago, and, she helped remind me of that. And so their talents, the talents of my grandparents, my parents, my aunts, and my uncle, it literally helped to develop that ability within me. So interesting what you're saying is just helping us to know that community, yes, is important, that village is important, to harness the gifts and to help you as you overcome life's fears. Because I could only imagine, thinking, how would being in a closet just reading books transform you into an author today? But here it is, because of the exposure and the experiences you've had with your family and a rich family community and legacy, that has helped to cultivate you into being this blooming author. And I'm glad that you actually letting the world experience this. And so this is really exciting. And so could you read a page or two for us? Share with us a little bit from the book today. Certainly. I will give you a read from chapter 1 from the book, Life's Metamorphosis When Life Happens. So chapter 1, it really tells you what is life metamorphosis. So I basically explain for persons, they may want to know why am I using that term, or where is it coming from. So I just want to first give you a quote. The quote comes from Lowe, and she says that change is beautiful, and butterflies are the greatest proof of this. So I begin the chapter by saying a butterfly's life cycle is a unique process of transformation, displaying many stages of its duty.
And these creatures are a great symbol of transformation. And like butterflies, we go through change. And it's redefining moments of our growth. And we are all born into environments that challenge our security of existence, our capacity to grow and to reproduce. And what happens in the progression of transformation, it isn't always appealing, but the end result can be beautiful. So when life happens, whether it's an experience of great darkness or a glimmer of hope waiting for you at the end of the tunnel, understand that transformation and us moving into that journey, it is us transforming into a beautiful being. That transformation process, it gets ugly. Sometimes as humans, we're messy. So true. And being messy doesn't mean that you're lost, you're forgotten, or you're a failure. All of that is a part of us growing and transforming into someone beautiful. And so is rich. Yes. And so chapter one, it basically speaks about us transforming, as well as I give more details about the various life cycles that we experience. And one of the life cycles I spent a lot of time on in chapter one would be generational cycles. As I was saying, yeah, you know what you need to be doing. Find house, we're going to be putting up the link where you can get the book, all the information. They just need to get the book. Oh, I'm excited because, like I say, I'm not going to slide. Yes. And to a thing, like you talk about life being sometimes messy or you go into a dark place. As a caterpillar goes see everyone you go, I sit there, and I said, when you look at a caterpillar, most times in us children, we tend to do, this strict quality, you want to squash it. And that's what happens. We want to squash where things get ugly in our lives, not understanding that he makes everything beautiful in his time. You just have to trust the process. And it's not comfortable, is it? No, it's not. I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. And you have anybody else has been there? I'm sure you've been through a time of, life has so much. I mean, whether it's physical ailments, many of us are diagnosed with sometimes with cancer or some other forms of non-communicable diseases. And we figure that's the end of life, not knowing sometimes to the beginning of life. Because who would think this creepy, crawly caterpillar when we come into this beautiful, breathing butterfly there. I do know the butterfly is so important. They say the flap of a butterfly's wings changes seasons and plans. And so this is just such a wonderful connection. That's why they say so was the wisest man. You understood time as seasons. I so this is powerful in here. I want to share that. Yeah, so while you're on season, also in chapter one, I explain how important it is for us to differentiate between life cycles and life seasons because it's a big difference. What's a major difference? And once you purchase the book, you will understand and be able to connect what are life cycles in your life versus what seasons are. Wow. Oh my God. Everyone get a book. Get your book. Oh, wow. Because, we all have friends, we have family, we have colleagues, we have associates, we have persons from our church, different spheres of influence and circles that we are part of. And sometimes when you sit and you listen, everyone has a story, something they're going through. Buy a book for a friend. They need help. Get this book. Invest in it. When you're looking for a birthday gift, a wedding anniversary gift, or just thinking about your gift, include this book. I don't know why this is already become emotional for me because it talks about maximizing your potential. And so, the word metamorphosis. Yeah. Why that word? Why that word? So, metamorphosis comes from a Greek word and it basically is for us to change or to transform. And so I wanted a symbol to be used just to help persons who I'm fan of butterflies. I love nature. And so for me, connecting to the story of Metamorphosis, it really, it helped me to paint a better picture for persons to understand how important change is in our life, how important, despite us going through challenges, we still need to live. We still need to go on. So we often have to embrace change. And sometimes the changes we go through, we have to make decisions from unforeseen circumstances. Things happen. We're not expecting to wake up one morning to be raped by, to be sexually abused by incest or by family acquaintances or members from society. We're not expecting to experience wars or to experience genocide, to be mentally or physically abused, to be abandoned by parents. So these sort of things many of us go through in life. And it's like, your life still needs to go on. So how do you move on? Obviously, we need to be able to understand how to embrace change. And before we can embrace change, we need to understand where we are, what is our reality in life in order to transform into that being that God created us to be.
Change is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but change is necessary. It'll grow. It is for that you need to come. And sometimes we just get stuck there.
Yes.
And and this book is here to be that impetus to say, hey, you don't have to be stuck because there's beauty in all of this. And so sometimes we're just looking at where we're at. And so crises and circumstances and challenges, these are some of the words you just used. It brings about this change that is necessary. I know some of us, and being looked back, we can say, wow, boy, what a difference life has made. I know I can say this, and I am just so excited about this book and what it could represent for me, because it's another perspective on life and how we can overcome life's challenges. Like it says, we spills every day, crisis. I mean, you hear it, you turn on the news, you watch the TV, and it's crisis that's going on. You go to work, there's some challenge that's going on. There's something that it just turns your whole day sometimes upside down. Yeah, all you could you believe is on the God. It sure is. Because he said, "For I know the plans I have for you." Yes, you're gonna go through these cycles or even these seasons of change. But guess what? And end of it all, there's beauty. There is beauty. And so, we talk about maximizing your potential. Who would have ever thought in the midst of everything that you would have faced, you would be sitting here today as an accomplished author? Once again, I want to congratulate you. I mean, this is amazing. And not only is it for you, like you said earlier, as you gave me thanks, you have a community that's been a part of this process. Tell us what that was like to have this one debate. I'm telling you. When I went to high school, to 8 Mile High School, I had an amazing language art teacher. Her name was, I remember, it was Pink Wellington. My journey, I believe it began in my home, but when I went to school, that was an extra, it gave me an extra boost. And, I was excited. She had us out the class often had assignments to write, essays or, those stories. And she was impressed with our level of writing. She compiled our writing and took it to the school that we came from Bartlett Hill Primary, and shared it with the students there, letting them know. And I mean, she was just proud of what we had accomplished at that young age. I mean, grade 7, we were excellent writers. And she always bragged about it. And I remember her from that. And she really impacted my life from that. Wow. So we understand that everyone has a role to play.
Yes.
You may think you're insignificant, but just by words of encouragement and, being a part of a community is just so important, because sometimes we don't have that. So that is something else, because there are those, even though in spite of what you may be going through, and enough community help you look up. But for those who don't have community, what do we do? So for individuals who don't have community, and this is something that I spoke of in the book as well, sometimes we go through challenges and
we may not have, close family members or persons within the community we feel comfortable going to. I would encourage you to go to a professional organization. We do have nonprofit organizations internationally as well as locally. Organizations like the Red Cross. You have the suicidal hotline here in Bahama, as well as there are international numbers. I have all of those resources listed in the book as well for individuals who may feel that they don't have anyone close that they can reach out to. But when you feel you don't have anyone, there are professionals out there who are waiting to assist you. Well, talking about that at this time, I have the privilege of actually welcome Dr. Andy Laing, clinical consultant with GB Resilience Center. We are so pleased to have you here with us. And with this book, Life Metamorphosis, and the author Tina J. McDonald, she talks about the cycles and the seasons of life. But more importantly, one of the key things that she speaks about is abuse, trauma, and dysfunction, and the need for help, mental health care. How important is mental health care?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you. And Mrs. McDonald, I would like to extend congratulations to you on the publication of your book. I think what you talk about is relevant, and it's very timely. As I look at the title of your book, that word metamorphosis jumps out at me because what it suggests is moving from one phase of life to another. It symbolizes change. It symbolizes coming out. It symbolizes reaching one's potential. Mental health is very important. It's just as important as physical health. A lot of times the tendency is for us to focus on our physical health, but our mental health is equally as important. So it's as if the two constructs are different sides of the same coin. Okay. One ultimately influences and affects the other. So where physical health is declining, or where there are issues in physical health, that can have an impact on mental health and functioning. And where mental health is experiencing issues or declines, that can have an impact on physical health. But what is mental health? Mental health refers to the overall well-being of an individual's psychological and emotional state. It is to be distinguished from mental illness. And I think this is important because a lot of times we use mental health and mental illness interchangeably, but they represent two different things. So I've told you what mental health is. Let's talk a bit now about mental illness. Mental illness refers to any condition that impacts upon the way a person experiences and expresses their emotions, the way they think, the way they behave, the way they interact with others, the way they express themselves socially. Okay, so that's mental illness. Mental illness can be acute, meaning it can be a one-time, short-term event, or it can be chronic, meaning that it's longer term, it's more enduring, and it's more persistent. And some of the more common mental illnesses that we might be familiar with include aggression and anxiety and schizophrenia and substance abuse disorders. And of course, trauma is included in that. So, and there are others. There are others.
Dr. Lang, you've laid a foundation for us in helping us to understand and differentiate between mental health and mental illness. And
this book speaks to abuse, trauma, and dysfunction, and it inevitably a change. And we know change is uncomfortable. How do we help persons, or what would you say from the professional standpoint for persons who are challenged because of abuse and trauma and dysfunction? How do we help them to break that divide from the trauma and the abuse and dysfunction to change?
Very good question, very important question. So when we talk about abuse, there are, of course, different types of abuse. There is physical abuse, there is sexual abuse, there is emotional abuse, there is neglect and abandonment, there is verbal abuse. But regardless of what type of abuse it is, it doesn't negate or in any way diminishes the impact of the abuse. And so abuse ultimately gives rise to trauma. Um, and I just want to distinguish between two broad classes of trauma or two broad classes of traumatic events. The first one being type 1 trauma, which has to do with a single event. So this might be an event that happened one time at one time. And then there is type 2 trauma, which has to do with multiple and repeated events. Okay, so this refers to abuse that is enduring and that's persistent. Here's why abuse can be so damaging, particularly to younger children. Abuse ultimately creates a paradox. It creates a contradiction because here you have an individual who is experiencing pain by the person or the persons who are supposed to protect, provide, support, and nurture the individual. And so one of the impacts of this is that the child now has to make sense of what's happening. And what tends to happen is, in order to accept the trauma, the child begins to view the person who is inflicting the trauma in a positive light. And this is what makes it so damaging. This is what makes it so painful. And this ultimately gives rise to a number of different symptoms that present themselves at various points and times in the individual's life. And so bridging the divide between trauma and seeking help or receiving support has to do with, first of all, awareness. So being aware, acknowledging, being able to identify that something has happened. We cannot address that which we are unaware of or that which we are unknowledgeable about. And so that's perhaps one of the first steps, being able to acknowledge and identify that I was abused, that I was hit upon, I was molested, or whatever the case is, by my father. And then having become aware of fact that this has happened, having acknowledged that these things have happened, then it's a matter of reaching out for support. Unfortunately, in our culture, abuse, particularly sexual abuse, is very taboo. It's something that we don't want to talk about. It's something that we tend to sweep under the rug. And unfortunately for a lot of individuals, during the early periods of the abuse, they would have reached out to a parent, an aunt, a relative, and disclose what is happening, and they were not believed. Okay, and so that adds additional traumatic injury to the experience. And so it's a matter of reaching out with support. It's a matter of not only reaching out for support, but also embracing what that support is. And by support, we're talking about counseling, we're talking about therapy, uh, and these services can be provided and should be provided by someone who is trained and qualified to provide intervention for persons who have been abused. So this can be a clinical social worker, it can be a trained counselor, it can even be a pastor once that pastor is trained and skilled in that particular area. And why is this important? It's important because counselors will have knowledge, they will be able to understand and provide psychoeducation as it relates to what that person might be experiencing, as to the types of symptoms that the person might be experiencing. Okay, and it's a matter as well of being able to normalize the experience and letting the individual know that it wasn't your fault. And given what you are experiencing, these are normal behaviors. These are normal reactions and responses to what you have experienced. And so just to summarize all of that, trauma is uh, it's very damaging. It's very painful. But the first step in addressing it is being able to acknowledge that it happened, being aware that it happened. And I keep harping on the word aware because sometimes because trauma is so persistent and it's so pervasive and damaging that the individual employs various psychological defenses that represses the events. And also, trauma also has an impact on memory. Okay, and so these memories a lot of times are fragmented, and so it creates a lot of gaps. It creates a lot of spaces in terms of what the person remembers, and so it calls for being aware. It calls for recognizing that, hey, this event or these events are impacting my life in a negative way. It calls for reaching out for help and embracing the help, um, of embracing the help and the interventions of the counselor, the therapist, or whoever's going.
Excellent, excellent. So, Dr. Laing, you have helped to put meat to all of this and to, I call it, validate with this book, Life's Metamorphosis, because now we have an understanding with this foundation that you have built on, I'm saying, what it used and trauma and what it leads to and dysfunction. It needs a dysfunction with the need for change and not just having a need for change, but that there is support for you. And so, one of the key words he mentioned is awareness. And so I think this book needs to be in every household. Get the book and it perhaps will bring some awareness of some of the things. You may not understand why you respond in such matters as when you see certain things happening or what triggers is happening, perhaps as repressed memory. And so I am very, very enlightened by what you would have shared, Dr. Laing, if you have any closing remarks. But I want to encourage folks to get the book. It may help to bring about awareness and to help remove like all of the cobwebs of your pressed memory so that you can get the necessary help. And we have persons like Dr. Laing and other colleagues of theirs who are available here in the Bahamas and maybe you're in a different country who's watching this. I'm quite certain Dr. Laing would avail himself and or make recommendations because mental health is very important. We've seen that this is progressing from abuse to trauma to dysfunction.
And so we want functional families, we want functional individuals. So, Dr. Laing, what closing remarks do you have for us?
Okay, so in closing, what I want to say is that one of the impacts of trauma is that um, it generates for some individuals a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of self-blame. Um, and again, these are very normal responses and reactions to abnormal events. And so if this is you, or this is you, or this is you, I just want to say that one, it wasn't your fault. Two, you were not responsible. And number three, you were acting in a normal fashion to an abnormal event. And additionally, seeking help, seeking professional help is not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. And it's not something that you should be ashamed of. So if you feel like you need to reach out to someone, whether it be Mrs. McDonald, who has so graciously offered us services, whether it be someone else, whether it's me or someone at the Grand Bahama Resilience Center, House Social Services, the Department of Social Services, or maybe even your pastor, if you feel that you need to reach out to someone, I encourage you to do that, because you don't want the trauma or the traumatic events to become something that serves as an anchor in your life, something that keeps you anchored and keeps you stuck. You want to reach a place where you're able to move past the trauma, where you are able to integrate the memories, where they become a part of your history, a part of your past, where they do not continue to define who you are, and where you are able to move forward, get on with your life, and do what Mrs. McDonald is doing, reaching out to other persons who might have found themselves in similar experiences.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andy Laing. I mean, that was very informative. And as we know, if you feel all alone, please know that there are resources, there are people who are in the community who are ready. They're certified professionals who are available to assist you. You're not on this journey alone. And so, once again, thank you, Dr. Andy Laing and the GB Resilience Center, for all of your services that you offer to the community at large. And so we're going to jump right into another trivia question. I hope you have been listening all night, because I'm going to test your listening skill. Now, our author tonight, Tina J. McDonald, she talked about someone who was very instrumental in her life at 8-9 Rock High School. Could you tell me the name of that teacher? So you could type that in, you could send us a message. However you can get this message to us, please get your message to us. We have a beautiful book waiting for you. And so this is your opportunity to get one of these books. And before we get any further into our next chapter, tell us where all we can find this book. So right now, we currently have the books available on Amazon. I've been sharing the link through social media. It's also located on my website. So if you visit tinajmcdonald.com, you will be able to get a copy, purchase a copy of the book via Amazon's link. Excellent. So you have no excuses as long as you have internet. And if you even don't have internet, you can find Tina J. McDonald right here on the island of Freeport, Grand Bahama, and she will have a book delivered to you. And so we're just really excited about what this book represents for this community. There's so much that has happened in this community. And we are now known as the Resilient Island. And, post Hurricane Dorian and so many traumas of what has happened, so many loss of lives during that time. And so a lot of people are experiencing so much was, when you go to chapter 5 sees about attitude and our response to these traumas, these challenges, crises, and circumstances we face. And so I want you to just to share a little bit more about chapter 5. We got to skip all the way through the chapter 5, which means you need to get involved. You should know what chapter 2, 3, and 4 says. So tell us a little bit about attitude and how, why that matters. Okay, will do. So in my second read from the book for tonight, I'm reading from chapter 5, Attitude Matters. And it begins with a quote from Charles R. Swindoll, and it says, "We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude." I begin by saying that our attitudes have a profound influence on how we view the world, the choices we make, our interaction with others. It can be the path to reach our potential or a barrier preventing us from achieving our potential. Possessing the right attitude is one of the greatest factors in helping shape our destiny and improve the quality of our lives. And then I move on to just giving a description about the caterpillar. So when we interlump a caterpillars, while it is transforming, it can be detrimental to its development. And so like a caterpillar, the development for us is sometimes threatened by life interruptions. How do we react when life happens? What is the driving force that will allow us to keep working toward our goal and reaching our potential, despite the many challenges or interruptions that we encounter? So our attitude, it involves our emotions, beliefs, and behaviors toward people, things, and events. It is a typical or repeated habit of evaluating people, objects, and ideas. These evaluations can be positive or negative, but they can also be uncertain. For example, you might have mixed feelings towards someone, something, or an event. So attitude has 3 components. An affective component, which refers to how a person, issue, or event makes us feel. A behavioral component, which refers to how attitude influences the way we behave. And a cognitive component, which refers to our thoughts and our beliefs about a person, issue, or an event. Oh, okay, that was noted. It's so, because guess what? Attitude is everything. Because it actually, I call those 3 the mind, body, and the spirit. Yes. And it's what do you believe? What do you think? What do you know? What are your response to those circumstances that you may be faced with? And so you're actually saying to us now, it's attitude in light of all of the abuse and the loss and the grief and anything you could possibly be, whatever diagnosis that you may have received. Attitude towards that is what matters. It does. It matters. It does. Wow. Because, sometimes you get into this pity party. Oh, wow. What do you say about that? Let me tell you, I was a cheerleader of pity parties. I hardly any pity parties for myself. When we have pity parties and we're going through the holding on to painful memories of abuse, trauma, and dysfunction, first of all, we need to become aware of those triggers that we're dealing with. And so I just would like to thank Dr. Laing for his presentation earlier, because we need to seek help so that we can become aware of those triggers that we have in order for our attitude and our behaviors to be adjusted, for us to know, which direction we need to take. We do need to make adjustments, because what I found it is our painful memories, sometimes we allow it to live in our present when in fact we should allow it to be what it is. It is a past memory, so it needs to stay in the past for us to look back and take, just see what we can gain from it, what knowledge we can take, what can we learn about ourselves, the experiences, in order to transform into that being that God created us to be. Now, that is powerful. And I'm going to try to repeat that. Where we've made our pain a part of our present as opposed to our past. Yes. Wow. I hope you heard that and understand that. Do not let your pain, your painful memories become part of your present. But put it in the past is exactly that's what it is. And that's what it is. Wow. Because many of us, like we sometimes say we're walking on chip on our shoulders, but it's just that we have triggers that have us, and knowing this at all, I am understanding that besides the book, there's some other opportunities that you're availing yourself to. Because I think every church should have this, every school should have this, every social community entity, organization. I mean, everyone needs to be able to have this particular book because this is bringing hope to the helpless, for those who may feel stuck in their past. And so this is a profound. Again, I cannot congratulate you enough on the release of this book. I think it's timely because there's so much happening, not just in Grand Bahama, even though you're a resident here at Grand Bahama, and that's why I started to say I'm glad that this launch is being held virtually because it opens up, to the Bahamas and to the Caribbean regions and to the world because many persons are going through challenges, crises, and have their circumstances that are holding on to painful past and happening to our present, but to bring up an awareness of the triggers, it helps them to be able to adapt and to change. Also, I am so excited about what this represents. And like I said again, I cannot say it enough. If you have not started the link yet for this book, click on the link, purchase the book. It's an excellent gift. Any church pastor, any counselors, anyone who deals with mentoring, this is a must-read book to help support your effort. And so, Tina, I want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to share in this with you. I know there's a lot more we have to talk about. This is a book based on experience. This isn't just a theoretical book. This is a practical book and a practical guide. So I love that for a guide to overcome painful memories of abuse, trauma, dysfunction, and confidently embrace change. I want you to remember those words. And so, is there anything else you want to share with us tonight? Yes, while we were in chapter 5, it also talks about how our attitudes, they often flow into our lives, into the lives of our children on the jobs you mentioned earlier as well. And so we find that parents, sometimes they're not aware. They don't understand how their words impact the lives of children. And so they find themselves parenting out of fear. They may have been traumatized as a child. It may have been, abused or what have you, or experienced some dysfunction. And so their behavior toward their child stems from somewhere. And if you look into it, sometimes I heard stories where people came back and they said, the conversation we had, I spoke to my mom. She was able to tell me her experience as a child. And she told me about her mom, and would you believe they went through the same thing? And so sometimes these generational cycles, they are behaviors that are also passed down. Behavioral habits based on generational cycles. Yeah. Wow. So it is important that we pay attention to how we handle our children and persons within our community because our attitude does matter. Well, there you have it. Our author and the launch of this wonderful book, Life's Metamorphosis. I almost want to call you Dr. Tina. Well, J. McDonald. I don't know. Maybe that's coming because she's offering herself. Go ahead. I didn't know it. Let me just interject right there. You sowing seeds again. I want to share with you when I began writing on my journey. This is before this book came to fruition. On my journey to writing this book, my inspiration began from writing. I did journal. I was journaling during my morning devotions. After that, I did a blog, a motivational blog titled Life's Metamorphosis, Embrace Change. And as I wrote those posts, I remember one post in particular I wrote, you commented on Facebook and you said, that sounds like a book. Now I see you come here now with this dark so insane again. She like cameo and said, I'm going to remind you about that. Well, who knows? Well, the example of research that you put into this book, it's scientific physics.
It's really like a thesis. And so who knows? We don't know. You could take this to the professor and they may just grant you. Yeah. But actually it was earned. It was earned based on this research. So if you have not gotten your book, I want you. So please tell us all the places where we can find the book, how they can contact you. I know you're also available for speaking sessions to work with those who may be interested. So give us all the answers there. Okay, so you can find me on my website at tinojmcdonald.com. I have a link there where you can purchase the book. Also, there is a link for you to sign up to receive additional information on life's metamorphosis when life happens, when we have new material, new products and services. You would be notified monthly about those. I'm also on social media. So for all of the social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, it's Tina J. McDonald. So you can find me using Tina J. McDonald. I would also like to share with you for entertainment on tonight. I am currently working on a project. I'm in the studio, so I have my friends who will be joining me. I'm going to share that kit with you. It's a new song that I'm getting ready to release. It's called We Will Rise. So that will be with my friends Javan and Lowe. So please do enjoy. Awesome. Congratulations. I think this is only the beginning because I think you should have put part one because there's so many, because like just continues to it's a continuation and it just so until death it's like I guess that's why I'm a paradox, but I want to say, so all of you, it's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you for reminding me. I really did need to remember barely age catching up all me. Who knows? But thank you for actually writing the book, Lies and Metamorphosis, When Life Happens. And so she's told us where we can find the book, get the book. And if you don't get the book, all I can say to you is you're missing out on something great. Congratulations once again. Thank you. And we look forward to book number 2. When you come back at book number 2, I hope I'll be hearing Dr. Tina J. McDonald. God bless you all, and thank you for joining us tonight. And I will see you in the bookstore. I love you.
We will rise, we will rise. We will rise, we will rise. Today is a new dawning. The sun has shine on me. The fatal darkness broken from the light with just one touch. Defeat won't hold us down, no, like prisoners in chains. With our head above our shoulders, we walk in victory. Come what may, this one thing I know, that we will rise. Hey, hey, hey. We will rise, we will rise. We will rise. We will rise, we will rise. We will rise. We will rise, we will rise. Destruction came and shook us like a mighty rushing wind. Plans and dreams have shifted. Our mental flight begin. Our support is getting stronger as we journey to rebuild. With our head above our shoulders, we walk in victory. Come what may, there's one thing I know, that we will rise. We will rise. We will rise. We will rise, we will rise. Rise above hate and mediocrity. We will rise, we will rise. Whom the sun sets free is free indeed. We will rise, we will rise. Relinquish all fear and negativity. We will rise, we will rise. Rise. together we will rise. Forward, upward, onward 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 together